I don't know that Kay saw our response, so we'll do it again. This is our 4th week into the series, A Spiritual Revolution, Re-Imaging God. People believe, but they believe differently than they once did. So for those of you that are visiting or haven't been here this fall, those of you that were here on Homecoming Sunday, remember Jacob's Ladder? You don't remember what I said because you were so nervous that I was on the ladder. But basically, I did come down eventually, which was the point, right? Challenging the notion of a 3-tiered universe and the vertical theology that many of us have been taught. And then we moved on to soil, that soil is holy, and to water, that water gives life. And I've invited us to put our hands in the dirt, to lay on the ground, to immerse ourselves in water and in the very life of God. I've invited us to reflect on changing it a bit. Not that God is in the world, but that the world is in God. What I am attempting to do in all this is to talk about the different ways to image God that are actually more congruent with our experiences in our everyday lives. The sacred moments we have, the divine encounters we experience. So today, it may seem counterintuitive to talk about the sky, because I've been trying to get God out of the sky for the last 3 weeks. But stay with me here. So let's think about sky for a minute. The sky is the place where we have placed God, is it not? I mean, think about it. Think about the way we talk. The old man in the sky, right? The guy up there. Steeples point heavenward. We point up to referring to God, don't we? I mean, think about sports players. Let's take baseball, for instance. Somebody hits a home run, what do? Now, I have to say that clearly the God of the A's is listening far more than the God of the Giants.
It's true.
Jorge's the only one that says amen to that in the room, probably. Oh, there's one up there. All right, terrific. In fact, the name of God has been interchangeable with the heavens itself. We traditionally, depending on our background, have called God what? Heavenly. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to reiterate, really hear me. I want to reiterate that none of this is wrong. The only thing I'm trying to do is to help us connect our understanding of the world that has changed so dramatically over the decades with our spirituality. In fact, the Big Bang Theory will mark its 70th anniversary next year. Some of you in this room, when you were born, there was no such thing as the Big Bang Theory. I mean, think about that for a minute. That's how dramatically our world has changed. And our cosmology has changed. It's hard with what we know about science now, the science of the universe, to hang on to our old cosmology. You know, one of the greatest disservices to religion was to divorce it from science. The pivotal move led us astray and has had irreparable ramifications over time. So many people have walked away from the Christian faith because that faith was not compatible with, in their view, and what they'd been taught, science. Am I right about that? Now, I know here at CCSM, probably everyone in the room embraces science. But the question is, has your spiritual worldview integrated that embrace? Or do you keep those things as two separate, incommunicable categories? There's science over here, and there's religion and faith over here. And they don't really come together. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? During Lent of 2016, I did a series on religion and science called the Great Partnership, trying to help us all and integrate them more. But now I want to go deeper. I want us to embrace the here and now in 2018 to a spirituality where we're more connected, more in tune, more aligned with the great mystery of God in our everyday life. Traffic and all. So let's use our imagination about the sky for a moment. Where does it begin and where does it end? Think of the sky as up there. Well, is it really? Sky's about light. Without the sky right now, we wouldn't be able to even see one another. We have the day sky with the sun and clouds. We have the night sky with the sun and moon and stars, the stars and moon. Then we have infinite space and galaxies and the entire cosmos. And I have 10 minutes left to talk about it all. The psalmist says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The heavens, the sky, tell us about who God is. And with modern science, we get to see God in a whole new way. The psalmist also says, when I consider the heavens, the work of your hands, who am I that you are mindful of me? The psalmist, our ancient spiritual ancestor, has the same reaction of awe to the night sky that many of us do. Who here has not had an experience at some time in your life of lying in the grass and gazing up at the stars? It's why some of us go camping, or at least out to the country, so that we might better see what there is to see. And it blows my mind that the stars are light years away, and many of them have already burned out, but I'm still seeing their light anyway. I mean, is there anybody here that can actually wrap your mind around that? Gregory Wolfe writes an essay called The Liturgy of the Stars. He grew up in New York City, so he didn't have much of a chance to see the stars. But one day, he, along with his mother in the Natural History Museum, discovered the Hayden Planetarium. And he says this about it: the room would go completely dark except for the faint glow of the 4 exit signs at the point of the compass. We leaned back in our seats to gaze up as the stars begin to emerge on the dome above. In the hush that descended, the sound of crickets could be heard. Now we were out in the country, the place where true darkness could still be found, and the full glory of the heavens swam across the sky each night. This might be science, but to this child, it was poetry. It's no exaggeration to say that those moments in the planetarium came as close to an experience of true worship as I had known. The plain white interiors of the Christian Science church my father took us to were no match for the liturgy of the stars. Isn't that beautiful? Creating that sense of awe, that sense of worship. Because the sky is dynamic. It is where the world as we know it began. The Big Bang. It's a beautiful, deeply spiritual new cosmology. A new creation story. A new way of thinking about God as creator and as mystery. Are you with me so far? So in her book, Grounded, Diana Butler Bass says, the Big Bang's simplest insight and the one with the most profound implication for understanding God and contemporary spirituality is straightforward. Everything that exists was created at the same time. Thus, all things are connected by virtue of being made of the same matter. That matter burst forth seconds after the singularity appeared and is all the matter that will ever exist. Throughout time, that dust has formed and reformed itself into gases, worlds, and living beings. So as Kay said, we are made of stardust. We breathe in the moment of creation every day. I thought that was a beautiful way to put it. So we need a spirituality that is up to date. You know, in many traditions, the Catholic traditions, they have the Stations of the Cross. In Ontario, at the Ignatian Spirituality Center, they have the Stations of the Cosmos. And it's in a spiral form. And it visually depicts the story of our emerging universe. And there's 25 stations, each telling of a particular moment of grace in the history of our universe. The stations are laid out in a spiral pattern so that as you walk, the guide tells you, your path is expanding. The guide says to the pilgrims that journey this spiral, let God reveal the story of the cosmos to you as you walk the stations. It is part of your own personal history, part of your sacred story, and God has a perspective to reveal to you. Tracing our ancestral lineage has become popular. The story of the universe also tells us of our lineage. I wonder, as I read this, how my theology and religious sensibility would have been shaped and who I would have become had I had this kind of theology along with all the teachings of Jesus. Did anybody hear this growing up? In alignment. What a beautiful thing, rather than being told that we have original sin and that we are separated from God. What a shift. What a fundamental paradigm shift to say we are all created from the same matter. That gets me excited. Okay, I guess I'm the only one, but that's okay. I'm used to being up here on a limb all by myself, no problem. You know, this new world view challenges our old ways of imaging God. And here's what I want to really say. How we image God makes a profound difference in how we view the world and how we treat one another. Okay, to take this week just for example. No, really. I am made of the same matter. I'll move on to something else. Never mind. Okay. How we see one another. This new cosmology, it demands that we believe that God is not just about humans, but about the entire cosmos and the immensity and all living beings. Again, a pivotal and fateful misconception that God only cared about human beings and that we were to have dominion over everything else. I'm not blaming everything on religion, but that is one reason that we are in the mess that we're in our planet. I need a bigger amen about that. Amen. So, what does it tell us about God? What do the heavens and the sky and what we know about the universe tell us about God? Well, briefly, many things, but let me lift up three. One is the intentionality toward life. It is said in the Big Bang, and I'm going to read this because if I don't, I'll say it wrong. If the universe had unfolded 1/1,000,000,000 of a percent slower, the gravitational force would have been too great and the universe would have imploded before anything of significance had occurred. If, however, the universe had unfolded 1/1,000,000,000 of a percent faster, matter would have escaped the gravitational pull and the cosmos would have been flung apart before anything could happen. It is not too far-fetched to say or to conclude that this intentionality toward life is at the very heart of the character of God. Think about that. The intentionality toward life and to be in that flow. I want life and full life. for the children still detained in our immigration centers. Life. The other thing the universe tells us is that God is mystery. Our finite minds cannot begin to comprehend. We're invited to, as Abraham Heschel says, radical amazement. Rabbi Joe said the other day about God being great mystery. He said, be curious. When something strikes you, instead of saying, aha, say, huh. Huh. How does that work? And as we've been speaking, our new cosmology tells us about God, about the oneness of God and the oneness of all things. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is among you. The sky is with us. We are breathing in the very moment of creation every day. Heaven is among us because the world is in God. So, put your hands in the dirt. Immerse yourself in water. Find a way to see the stars. And when you do, ask yourself, who am I? I am connected. I am a part of the whole. I am held by it all, grounded in it all, and I too am in God. Amen.